Hello again, viewers. Previously, we were talking about emotions, the attributes of emotion, and then anxiety. Now, we can have a new concept which we always talk about, which is always common, which more awareness is being given about. The term called depression. Now, what is depression? Depression is a state of persistent mood or state of persistent being in sadness and lack of interest. Now, why depression happens? There are umpty number of reasons why depression happens. The first reason generally is when you mourn over a loss of a person. When a person goes through a loss of a loved one, there are chances that you can experience depression. When substance like alcohol, drugs are involved, there are chances of depression. When your health comes down or when you have health issues, and also sometimes if it's chronic, you tend to get depression. When your life is not under your control or you lose everything in a matter of a minute, you tend to get depression. When a person is experiencing a traumatic event, as in a natural calamity or any sort of abuse or any sort of traumatic event, and reliving it, you tend to get depression. And most of all, when you are bitter enough inside of you, you tend to get depression. Now, how bitterness causes depression? Bitterness actually happens when you have unfinished businesses within you. As in, when you are having an issue with a person or issue with any life aspect and you are not dealing with it, it becomes unfinished business or it becomes a wound that is not being healed. Let's say, for example, you are talking to a very loved one or a person who is close to your heart, and all of a sudden that person betrays you and you are not embracing it or facing that betrayal. That betrayal can cause wounds in your heart, and if the wound is not being addressed properly, it tends to become bitter. And now, how this bitterness can affect you to having depression? Because bitterness tends to spread in all aspects of life. Let's say, for example, you have lost a loved one or they have passed away. You can never think of any other thing apart from the loss. This loss has to be faced. Your mind and your heart will keep fighting on that person's life or even trying to bargain the reason why you lose them. Furthermore, if you are allowing this wound not to be healed, you tend to become bitter. Even a slightest excitement like watching the rain or talking to your friends or achieving in your work will not excite you if you have bitterness. Sometimes even the faith that you have will be devoured by this bitterness. Now, this bitterness, it is so efficient that it will make you to be sad always, remembering the loss that you have in your life also will make you to lose your interest in your daily routine. You will experience a void because of this bitterness. Depression is a very serious issue. Why? Because if undealt, you become dysfunctional completely. You will not be able to enjoy life's excitement, life's pleasure, even it is so little. a hi or a smile from a child, a hi from a friend of yours, an achievement that you have in your job, your regular routines, even your hobbies or your passion will not excite you if you have bitterness which has complete its form into depression. Another reason for us or to any other person to experience depression is when they are unable to let go of what they have within. You know, sometimes we have a tendency of cherishing the moments that we had. But few of us, or many a times, we tend to also cherish a memory with a negative emotion or an intense emotion such as anger or sadness. Memories play a vital role in a person's life. When it's been repeated in your mind, the emotions come alive again if it is not worked or if it is not embraced. There are times when there are disputes between a child and her or his parents. As a growing up child or when the child becomes the adult, these incidents where they are hurt because of the parents or the child has hurt the parents, vice versa. These memories, when you think of it, there are slight sadness or anger hidden inside as an attribute or a racket feeling of sadness. This memory, if it is not dealt with, can cause you depression. As in the childhood traumas that you go through or any sort of abuse that you've gone through as a child can be a causative reason to become depressed as an adult when it is undealt. Another thing is a sense of control. Like I said, also in anxiety, even in depression, when you are shattered, when you think there is no hope or when you think you can't handle it, you go into a sense of depression. Or when you accumulate a lot of process or emotions such as sadness, or when you are not able to vent out or you are unwilling to open up, or let's say the term called catharsis, where you vent your emotions, there are chances that you will fall into depression. Sometimes even in medical aspects we can get depression, especially in women who are going through their menstrual cycle. There's something called PMS where they experience an episode of depression. And also in pregnant women when they are having a child, when they are delivered a child, we call that postpartum depression. Or when the child is in the womb of the mother, chances are the mothers can be depressed and we call it prenatal depression. Also, sometimes when an individual is growing old because of the aging and because of the person is getting dependent to be on someone, that can also cause depression. So far we have seen what is depression and what and all will cause depression. Now we will see how depression can be classified. Sometimes, when individuals come and say that I'm depressed, they should know or we should know that depression has a duration. It can be intense feeling of sadness and lack of interest, which is in the duration of 2 weeks, and we address it major depressive disorder. Now let's see the classification of depression. When somebody comes and tells you that they are depressed, you need to know the duration of it, because depression does not happen overnight. Intense emotion that they experience called sadness and lack of interest should be there at least for 2 weeks. And this lack of interest or intense experience of sadness should make that person dysfunctional. If somebody comes and tells you that they are depressed and yet they are active, that also called functional depression, where the person is unable to function but their mood is sad. Now, how do you find it out? The way they are, the way when they relate to you, when they are in the mood called sadness. Another way of how you can classify or how you can identify another term or other variation of depression is predestined or persistent depressive mood, which happens in a person not in the way as major depressive causes, but the person experiences sadness, lack of interest for at least 2 years. And there's another depression which is called seasonal depression, which happens in one particular time. Let's say during the grief period or the mourning period, they mourn for a person. Or any season or month that will remind them of a traumatic event, that time they only experience for that month or for that moment. Now, how do you handle depression? First, to acknowledge that you are sad. Many a times when people ask you, how are you? The immediate reply or the spontaneous reply that we do is, I am fine. You know, self-awareness and allowing the truth to confront you is the greatest weapon, or it is the greatest help that you can do to yourself. Next time, if you are sad, please tell, I am sad, instead of, I am fine. You don't have to fight it all by yourself. You will get help if you seek it. The next thing that you ought to do when you feel or when you think that you're depressed, you need to talk about it. And you need to ask help. Sometimes it is okay to seek even the medical professional if it is required, because your life is worth than the depression that you're going through. Another thing, in person, I would suggest that if you are depressed, get along or gain social support and emotional support from your people whom you can rely on, because your emotional support influence in your mental and your physical state. Whenever you feel like drowning, please attach yourself to people whom you will feel alive again. And it is okay to rely for help because you deserve it. Now, how to overcome depression? The first thing that I would suggest is it is okay to ask for help, because your life deserves more than the depression, and your life is more worth than the depression that you have. The second thing is, please let go of whatever is holding on to you. Please resolve with the bitterness by forgiving that person or forgiving yourself. Allow your emotions to be released and let go of whatever you are holding. The next I would suggest is, please ask for help, because it can boost you up by getting help, also enhancing your self-worth. Remember, your depression is not worth as you are as a person. The next thing I would suggest is, please have emotional support and please have social support, because your life is far more worth than the depression you have. Thank you and hope it is useful to you. Bye-bye.